Shaz here with another To Buy or Not to Buy. In these videos, I talk about new makeup that is released or is releasing, and I try to talk myself out of buying anything on camera. I don't need so much makeup. I can dupe most of what's releasing, and hopefully in the process, I can also inspire you to buy less makeup and instead opt for using the makeup that you already own. If that sounds good, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and let's get into the video. Beauties, if you watched my last To Buy or Not to Buy, I mentioned that these videos that are in this To Buy or Not to Buy are from part of November and part of October. These are videos that I videoed to post, but I just never had a chance to release them. If you know, I was sort of away for about a month. So these are the old To Buy or Not to Buys. I aggregated them into one, but I still wanted to make sure you're not buying these things. With that said, let's get into the video. Friends, this is going to be hopefully a shorter one. We have caramel pumpkin as the candle today. Oh yeah, housekeeping stuff. My nails again continue to be press-ons from Kiss. These are not from this year, although I've realized Kiss does sell some of its older stuff on their site. Again, don't go buy anything you don't need, but this is a much better option in my mind to spending, I don't know, $100-something getting it done at a salon. I can't afford that, not having had a job for almost a year. So this is still gonna help me get my nails looking nice. Also, as always, and I might not be holding this correctly, but I duped for you all. I didn't have empty magnetic palettes, you know, perils of my existence. This is supposed to be my dupe of the Pacific Northwest palette from Nomad. You all requested it, and it might have to be moved or twisted or whatever, but you get the idea. And this is what we're using to do my look today. The swatches are not online. I have like 5 palettes that I need to do swatches of, so stay tuned for that. I talked about the reveal of this, but it wasn't released when I did the last video. This is a Nevermore palette from Gourmand Girls Beautiful, but I can dupe it, and Gourmand Girls, we know at this point, is not magnetic still, so definitely not a thing I'm going to go buy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video where I talk about the palettes or the types of palettes and products that I'm prioritizing, even if I wanted to buy anything. Beautiful palette, I can dupe it. Probably went without saying. Let me know if you want me to dupe. Also, you all, I posted a community post asking you all if you wanted me to dupe any spooky palettes. This is old palettes, new palettes, whatever. If there's any palette from past years or this year and you want me to dupe it that I have not duped, go ahead and write in the comments in that post so that I know. This is another thing that released, Dark Light 20 color palette. Y'all, I have barely even had a chance to talk about the last Beauty Bay palette that I think I talked about 2 To Buy or Not to Buys ago or something. I like Beauty Bay, you all know this, but somehow I could not help but notice that some like 75+% of this palette is shimmers. At least in this photo, it's very difficult to know. I feel like this palette is just too monotone. Not monotone, but it looks very much around the same sort of color range. I feel like this could have been reduced to 12 pans. Now, what I like about Beauty Bay that I've talked about time and time again is that their palettes are very good quality for a very, very reasonable price. This palette of 20 pans is $21, and you know, don't quote me on this. Beauty Bay is an English brand, so I have no idea how it would go with the whole tariffs and whatnot. If you know, write in the comments below. But before, the shipping from them was also not expensive. And I have to confess that there are a lot of their palettes. I should declutter, and you're gonna see me say that in the declutter video probably. But a lot of their palettes have such good quality that I wish I could depot them. So get the pans out and just be able to use them separately, because I love particularly their matte quality. So colorful, so buttery, very beautiful color ranges, particularly some of those monotone 16 pan palettes. You know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about this one from Beauty Moon. I don't think Beauty Moon is magnetic. If you know otherwise, let me know. Nothing special. When I saw this, I thought this is from Sugar Drizzle. The aesthetic looks very similar to some of the stuff they have. Probably not magnetic. I can dupe it. I don't see anything special in the swatch or in the palette itself. So moving on. So the one we just talked about was the Treat palette. It's a duo. This is the other one, Treat. Trick or Treat. Now this is a lot more up my alley from the color story front. You know, a lot more colors of the spooky season, particularly that center shade I like. But again, I can dupe this, and I feel like this isn't something we haven't seen before. Having a matte gray and a matte black in a 9-pan palette should be illegal. Having a shimmery purple and a matte purple, same thing. No, shimmery green and a matte green. Should I say a matte white and a matte black? Yeah. Moving on. The other thing is Beauty Moon is not necessarily cheap. I might or might not have talked about this one, Crimson Castle from NBA Cosmetics, in my last video. Pretty palette. Not here for the matte black, but honestly overall a pretty palette. I feel like it could have been reduced by one column, so just 12 pans. But hey, I could live for 15. Don't have a price. This is matte, shimmer, duochromes, and multichromes. Do I have swatches? I don't have swatches at the moment. I think I can dupe this with a combination of my Sydney Grace, maybe even some of my ColourPop palettes, and then adding to it some Cliona, Divina, and so on singles, multichrome singles. But it's a pretty palette, and the fact that it's magnetic, that's nice. Let me get started on the look because otherwise we'll be here and I don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm using Glam Shop eye primer. So while that's drying, let me quickly mention that when I made my last video, Nomad Cosmetics was still going through the process of doing that whole, you know, the thing they always do, the quiz. So we didn't know what the palette was going to look like, and at this point I have already duped it for you all and we're going to use it today, so I'm not going to go buy. Also, Nomad palettes, at least historically, have not been magnetic. I think at some point they started releasing some of their shades that were in the palette as separate single shades. I don't know what happened with that because I've not seen that or seen them do that for a while. Essentially that means I'm not going to go buy, because I'm not buying non-magnetic palettes, or I'm not even going to entertain the concept of buying non-magnetic palettes because I just don't have that kind of money. You know, I need to be able to repurpose things. Let's talk about this one, y'all. DD Signature. I haven't even had a chance to do an actual duping video of the last palette that I duped from DD Signature, and they're already talking about the new one. I can tell very fall appropriate. And something I might dupe, $50. Honestly, $50 for 16-pan just sounds outrageous to me, knowing 16-pan palettes as far back as like 2 years ago were in the $20 range usually. Now, DD Signature does have shifty multichrome sort of shades. I've never used them, and it is a brand I would like to use. They also have magnetic pans, so definitely a brand on my radar. It's just, I can't dish $50 for a 16-pan palette, particularly when I know I'm probably gonna have a lot of the shades in the palette, or dupes of them, I mean. MAC. Moving on, we have this from MAC. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Prices seem outrageous. I mean, MAC generally is a high-priced brand, but like 3 Bounce and Gleam highlighter for $36 a piece. Less is More lip kit for $75, y'all. That's groceries for a week for a lip kit of 3 lip shades. I mean, somebody's gotta have money, and good for the person who does. I don't, and history has shown me that even when I did, I wouldn't be using this stuff because I would buy too many of them, and I just have, you know, one mouth. What is this? We have Chaotic Cosmetics, and it seems like these are glow in the dark. Very exciting. Can't promise these are not actual glitters. Have to say that disclaimer because I usually don't talk about glitters in this channel. I don't wear unsafe plastic glitters. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for your eyes. I don't even know why they still make them. Yeah, I'm trying to reduce my plastic consumption to a level that's possible. What I can do and I have control over, I'm gonna try to do. particularly things that are not going to make a huge dent in my life, like having or not having a product that has them. But they're pretty. I mean, I can't deny the fact that some of these are so colorful and cute, particularly the ghosts. But do I need? No, I don't. And I can totally live without them. We have Queen Cosmetics Sublime Hard Refillable Metallic Shadows. Can dupe. $18 a piece. $18. Now, I might understand $18 for multi-chromie, whatever, but like, these don't look any of that. Do you ever ruin, you all? I don't have to say more. Definitely excited, and you know, some of the colors. Do you have a ruin? Bring it on. I'm here for that. And I like to think that this is going to be magnetic, just because, although if it's not, it's going to be better for my pocketbook. But if it is, yeah. Dark Dreamscape Collection from Bella Beauty Bar, 20 pan for $78. So with tax and whatever, could be 85 plus. Is it worth 20 pans? No, it's not. Bella Beauty Bar, please. I recognize you're probably also paying more because other people are increasing prices, but who can afford that? It says the palette has 6 multichromes, 2 holochromes, 1 shimmer, and 11 buttery matte. To save my wallet, I truly hope that I can dupe all of those multichromes and holochromes that are in this palette. And if I couldn't, I would go buy single holochromes or whatever to be able to dupe, because $80? Write below if you think it's okay, because to me $80 is a week's grocery bill, y'all. And I need food to survive. I don't need makeup to survive, clearly, because I haven't worn makeup in a while. Can't deny the fact that this is beautiful, and those colors, you all know, are totally up my alley. Purples to teals to blues and pinks, and they look very good on me. Now we also have lip stuff. It says lip pencils are $10. Dream Lip Sparkle Balm might be the bullet looking. I thought they look to me like lipsticks, but if maybe they're called lip balms. These are $16 a piece, which again to me seem very expensive. I don't want small brands to go out of business, but I just can't afford this. I mean, if you are a small brand trying to release things and actually want people to be able to afford and buy them, but if you actually intend to sell these items instead of just making people want them but not be able to afford them, you need to think about the price. Let's get started with the look. You all know, or maybe you don't, I used to live in Seattle area. I have a huge love for the Pacific Northwest. It just warms my heart to see a palette about the Pacific Northwest or anything related to Pacific Northwest, because it has a very special place. That whole region has a very special place in my heart. And if I were to ever live in any part of the US, like thinking about where I would want to live for the rest of my life, Seattle area would be it. I love seeing all the greens, and when I think about Pacific Northwest, green is the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, with Washington State being the evergreen state. So I said all of that to say I'm going to use greens and blues in this look. Let's go into this shade. This shade is going in my crease. Using these transition shades in the crease helps me be able to create a transition between that shade and my skin shade when I put deeper shades over it. And you all, again, if you're new to my channel, usually in these videos, I try to do very simple looks that if you like, you can recreate. Let's go into this very beautiful shade. This is sort of an olivey shade, and I kind of feel like doing something halo looking now. Okay, y'all, that looks good. It took a lot of blending. I'm gonna now just take the deeper shade on a flat brush. I'm using the same brush, but you can pick another brush and just bring it under my lower lash line with whatever's left on the brush. You can pick a clean brush and just diffuse it out, but because you're using a brush that was already used, like you didn't dab back into the shade, it should already be diffused. You can also blend it out with the lighter green shade if you want. I feel like that looks pretty good. And that green shade is from Give Me Glow. Y'all, I'm starting to like Give Me Glow mattes. Okay, let's continue quickly. We have this stuff from REM Beauty. This looks like inspired maybe based on the name only by Wicked. Nice stuff. REM is a bougie brand, although some of these, honestly, the prices are cheaper than some of the indie brands that we've seen. So the Forest eyeshadow palette, which is kind of nice, is $69, although it only has 12 shades, so keep that in mind. Glinda makeup set 65, Elphaba makeup set 65. I don't know what are included in those. Maybe those 3 or 4 sort of shades. I don't know. Not my thing. Let's talk about this one. Fantasy Cosmetica collab with Batty Bean. Of course, that makes so much sense because Batty Bean is a huge spooky season lover. And this palette, y'all, I'm here for it. And it's exciting to know that Fantasy Cosmetica hasn't, you know, sort of phased out. I know when the whole tariff thing happened, there was a post on their channel kind of hinting that with the new costs coming from other countries, they might not be able to afford things. So it's great to know they're still going strong. And, you know, I couldn't take my eyes off of that red. You know how much I love red. And Fantasy Cosmetica is magnetic. Well, most of their recent palettes have been magnetic. Maybe not all their palettes. And I can't confirm for this one, but I'm here for this. Let's also mention this one, Apocalypse. And this is new from Cryptane. And yes, Cryptane is another brand on my radar. I believe their palettes are all magnetic. I can't help but to see those red shades again, but I think I can dupe this. I'm gonna focus more on unique shades because they do have singles. So unique shades that I do not own or don't have a dupe for. There's no point in buying dupes of stuff I already own. Okay, y'all, I'm putting a little bit of base booster at the center here, and we're gonna use this beautiful shade. This is I Need Vitamin C from Color Me Multi collection of Touch of Glam. I've been raving about those two collections, Color Me Multi and birthday collections from Touch of Glam. Now this is a multichrome, which is why I'm gonna try to put it on a larger surface than just dabbing it at the center because I want it. Oh, this is so pretty. And it's gonna blend very nicely into that green. And I'm now gonna use this to blend these edges and correct them a little bit. Okay, everyone, this is the completed look. As always, at the end, I'm gonna bring the camera closer and show you the look from close up, and everything I used is in the description below. But a lot of it is older stuff that might no longer be available because I'm trying to go over everything I have. Let's quickly finish off. We have this thing, Cleona, y'all, and you know, nail polishes is my weakness. Although I was very good this year, I did not spend a whole lot on nail polishes, but Cleona's coming up with some new stuff. And they're very pretty, particularly that orange shade. I think it's called Fall Festival. The issue is Cleona is a Canadian brand, and I have no idea how stuff is going to go with these tariffs. I actually think they were going to pass on the tariffs and it was going to be 20-something%, but I don't know. It changes very frequently. So if you're interested, you should check on their website. I love looking at them, but I don't like paying exorbitant prices for nail polishes, of which I own plenty from Cleona. So yeah, maybe I'll just opt for using the ones I have. Now that we mentioned nail polishes, Glow in the Dark from Hollow Taco. This is gonna restock. Exciting. Particularly these things are nice if you're doing like designs on your nail polishes. They're very pretty. And oh, this one, because this one also hadn't revealed last time when I talked about it, and I talked about it, the sneak peek. Y'all, Glaminatrix. Of all the palettes Glaminatrix released recently, this one truly captured my heart. Can I dupe it? Yes. Should I dupe it? Y'all tell me, but I kind of lean towards buying it. Yeah, y'all, this palette is so pretty and fall appropriate, and it very interestingly looks very similar to the Nomad palette. Did you all notice? Kind of cool toned, very similar shades. Well, this one has a few purples that the other one doesn't, but overall very similar. And closing with this other palette that I talked about last time that is beautiful. I find true very deep red and berry shades hard to find. Has that been y'all's experience? Like, I see a lot of mid-tone to a little deep, but true deep I don't see very often. Another issue is also that you see these palettes swatched. In the swatch, they might look more vibrant and more deep than they are actually in person. So that's also that. But this palette, regardless, is beautiful. You all know I love me some berries mixed with purples. Am I gonna go buy? Probably not. Particularly that I don't think Davini is magnetic, and this palette is $64. A week of groceries, y'all. A week of groceries. Now that I'm looking at the swatches, y'all, I feel I can dupe this. Yeah, I'm gonna opt for duping it instead if I wanted it. Okay, y'all, I have not sat in front of this camera in 3 weeks at least. The first part of the video is from 3 weeks ago. Stuff has been going on in my life that just didn't allow me to be able to sit here and film for you all. But we're back, and I know Halloween has already passed. But hey, as if I care, I still have my spooky on, and candle is pumpkin cheesecake because we do Halloween all year round. And the second look is going to be with a palette I duped a long time ago, but I never got a chance to do any looks with this or swatch it for y'all. This is a Flourish palette from Ensley Reign. This was a part of a duo. I duped the other one. I'll tag that video. I duped that one last year. And I duped this one also last year. I just never got a chance to video it as I was packing. I realized that, and I was like, let's now do a look with it. And I also need to get the shades out and repurpose them. Also, you all, my nails. These are from this year's Halloween collection of Kiss. Frankly, they are probably even on sale at this point. I haven't looked at new releases in half a hot second. I don't know what to expect. So there could be a whole lot, and lo and behold, the Nomad palette I just did a look for you all with is already in old news because it seems like they're having a new palette. This one is called Christkindl Markt, which I have been to. So these are Christmas markets. I've been to, I think, one in Chicago. I might have been to some in Europe. Fun events, particularly if the weather is cold. And as you can see, well, Austin just got a little bit of cold, and I'm hoping that it's here to stay. But of course, in the house, I have the heater on. This is a pretty palette, but very anticipated. I'm seeing these singles from Enchanted Luster Cosmetics. Okay, I don't have swatches, but looking forward to that. Shadow Daddy. And talking about Clionadh, y'all, they just released Pick Your Potion and Haunted Hollow collection for Halloween. I'm trying to get out of this feeling of I need to own everything from Clionadh. So awesome for them, and this looks pretty, but I'm gonna pass. And of course, Glamlight had to not surprise us and do something completely expected, which is collabing with yet another spooky movie. So this one is with Saw, and honestly, y'all, I'm losing track of what products are part of which of these collections because they are all blending to the same thing in my mind. The palette doesn't look super unique. It looks like a variation of the Chucky palette or some of the palettes from their collab with Twilight or other palettes that they have. They literally are releasing something every month, and while they have good prices, I'm not here for that. But hey, if you've never owned anything from Glamlight, I do recommend the brand. The thing is, I don't do or have decided to not do non-magnetic palettes. I like palettes that have magnetic pans so that I can use them elsewhere. I talked about the things that I care about moving forward at length in a video. I'll tag it here if you want to watch that. We also have this one, Guardian of the Lagoon, from Question Beauty, a very known color story that we have talked about in my color theory video. I'll tag that for you all. It's called Analogous, and even similar palettes we've seen before. I can easily dupe this. There is nothing in here that makes me do a double take. So pretty, but and these colors look great on me, but no. It seems like Clarity Cosmetics is releasing Croc in a new size. Old news. And then Give Me Glow is releasing this gigantic palette called Down to Earth. They seem like they are a few years behind. Everybody and their mother has done a version of this, which is earthy tones to greens. You all remember Lime Crime's Venus 2 palette? That is, I think, 2018. Okay, let me get started on the look before I get too carried away. I'm going to use Glam Shop's primer here. Let's talk about this. We have Bella Beauty Bar already doing a new palette. This one, although it has a very Christmas theme, I would say from the color story, looks like it's supposed to be a Halloween palette. Come play with us. I think it's probably a take on one of these spooky movies. I need to watch more spooky movies. Not spooky movies, scary movies, right? Like, there's two categories of movies. There's the Nightmare Before Christmas kind of Halloween movies, and then you have the scary movies that are kind of gross and gory. That's not my thing. Now, the few things that are capturing my attention, I think you can already guess. The reds. Particularly the one at the very corner. Does that really swatch like that? Or is that enhanced? If you're Bella Beauty Bar, why don't you sell these shades individually? Because I just want that red or the two reds. We also have this from Edge Beauty. Now the photo doesn't look very good, so I can't really see the shades. So, hey, if I can't see the shades, I'm clearly not going to be able to say if I want it or not. So moving on. We also have Artitude Cosmetics, y'all, come up with something new, Submerged. This says it's $64 including the tariffs. So I have to see how these tariffs are going to be applied to some of these products that are coming from outside of the US. Maybe I'll change my mind about picking up stuff from another country. The Submerged palette from Artitude Cosmetics looks nice, but I don't feel like it's giving me anything new. I can dupe this. By the way, y'all, if you want me to dupe anything we talk about, write in the comments below. I know I'm behind, but I can, if you want to wait a few months, I promise you I'm going to dupe these in order. I'm not going to leave you all hanging. They might not come during the appropriate season. I'm still planning on duping some of the Halloween palettes you all wanted me to dupe. And in fact, if you recommend a Halloween palette for me to dupe, write in the comments below if you no longer want me to dupe it. But some of those palettes are from years ago, so I was like, you guys probably don't care. I can still dupe them. I don't even think some of those palettes are available anymore. And in fact, I have some of them. So I was like, I can actually do a dupe comparison. So let me know if you still want me to do that. As you can see, this palette has nothing to do with this time of the year, and that's what I love about it. Maybe we'll use a little bit of orange. I'm gonna jump into this orange. I'm gonna try to do something I've never done before. I'm just improvising here, so let me go with another kind of a fluffy brush. I'm gonna go into this shade. Like, this look is gonna be so summer, so spring, and this is gonna go here. Oh my goodness, I was not expecting this to be, not that it's not, I wasn't expecting it to be this bright. I expected it to be lighter. The issue with using purple with orange is that purple has blue and orange has yellow, and when you mix the two, what do you get? If you watch my color theory video, you know that's going to mix all the primary colors, so you're gonna get some muddiness, or you might get some muddiness. Because of that, I was a little bit apprehensive of using this shade, so maybe I'll just not go for something deep and I'll just use the pink. However, pink is a variation of purple, so hey, I'm not going that far from using purple. I just want to like put some shade here. Again, I'm just purely improvising. You can even see, you know, there's a little bit of diffusion happening where I mixed the pink and orange. And there's a little bit, a tiny bit of light brown there. And that is because it muddies. It has blue in it. Pink has blue in it. So can't get around that, but it's not so muddy that it's going to make it look ugly. So we're going to just flow with that. And then I'm going to bring this lower down. I'm actually liking this. Like, I don't think I've ever done a look like this. There's also this thing from Laneige and the stuff they released last year. Where are you? Because I have, this is still on my desk. This thing, if I don't dig my finger in it by mistake, it's brand spanking new. This is from last year's holiday release. I use the other one. These things where you have to dig your finger in, it's just not very natural for me to use. But because of that, and you know, I have permanent chopped lips, I always have a need for these kinds of lip products. But until I use the ones I have, not buying or even entertaining buying new ones. I'm pretty sure I never got a chance to talk about this, so let's talk about it. Grinch collab with ColourPop. And yes, I said that in reverse because I just love Grinch. Now, the palette to me looks very under-impressive. If you remove that middle column that has greens in it, this is going to be yet another boring ColourPop dupe of 2 million other palettes that they've released. That was just mauves. So what is going on over there at ColourPop? I don't know. And you all also have been telling me that they no longer have magnetic pans. And that's just extremely heartbreaking for me. I don't like that. And if they continue doing that, they might become a brand I don't want to shop from because I'm just not interested. And there's a few other things I'm going to be excited to talk about. But until then, let me quickly dig into this. Now, the dupe of this will be coming up if you're wondering what shades I'm using. In the meantime, I think I'm going to use this one. This is Turbo Snap from Glam Shop. This has a beautiful orange shift that was just going to go with everything I have going on. Every time I use this base booster, I think to myself that I miss BH Cosmetics. It's a very interesting shade. I actually contemplated buying a nail polish version of this shade. Well, I've seen a few similar shades in nail polish. I know Mooncat has one. I know Cleona has one. So what's interesting about this shade and why this goes is that separate from the orange and some of the hints of pink, it has that purpley blue shift, and we just talked about how purple has blue in it and pink also has blue in it, so it's going to blend into all of these shades. It goes really well with all of them. If you watched any of my color theory videos, I talk about how you can mix and match shades or what shades go with each other. Two rules of thumbs for eyeshadow is to go with shades that are very contrasting, so you can use complementary shades or shades that are very similar. So when you're working with a multichrome, an easy rule of thumb is to figure out what shifts that multichrome has and go with similar shifts for the matte shades you're using. One thing I could do is to make it a little bit deeper at the edges, but I like how fun this look turned out to be and how summery it is, because I always like to deepen out my outer edges so that it goes with the looks go with my features, because I have very deep dark features. But I think I'm gonna leave this as is. Okay, y'all, this is the complete look. To make it a little bit even more girly and summery, I picked a very summery, girly shade for my lips. And I just realized it goes very well with the color of this and also my shirt. Again, the goal is to incentivize you to use what you have, not to get you to go shop for these stuff. This caught my attention because you all know I have Touch of Glam on my radar. Now, they are expensive, but I've even seen them have up to 40% off during sales. Interesting, not picking anything up until sales. That's another rule that I had, that if I pick something up after my no buy is over, it has to be during a sale. The other thing that I never got a chance to talk about was this one from Adept. I might have even talked about a sneak peek of it in, I don't know, maybe even the first part of this video. Retinol, I'm sure I'm butchering that. A palette of 15 shades inspired by the rarest blood type in the world. Oh, RH null. So, what is that? O negative. $72, which is quite a chunk of change. Now, Adept has reasonable quality. Okay, they don't, at least the palettes I use, and I haven't purchased from them this year at all, they don't have the best palettes and the best quality in the world. Some of their shimmers are very nice, but I don't see anything in here that I'm like, I need to have this. If I don't have this, I can't sleep at night. And I can dupe it. So no, not happening. I also, you know what? I'm not that drawn to this. Remove the few colorful shades from it and it's just a neutral, cool toned. Nothing new. We've seen this multiple times before. Our Starlight collection, Cosmic Brushes, a new release. This is $113 for the full thing. That includes tariffs. It's pretty. You know what this reminds me of? Paletopoly from Ace Beauté. And I have that palette. I told you all, I kind of thought for a hot second I might have to move, so I packed everything in boxes. That's why I can't reach and grab it for you all. But yeah, very similar to Paletopoly. Now, Ace Beauté, at least when Paletopoly released, did not have any multichromes or any funky shades in their palettes, so definitely not a dupe, but very similar shades. However, I'm pretty sure Cosmic Brushes is still not magnetic, and I'm not doing non-magnetic palettes. I'm also probably not doing from another country. So moving on, and we also have 669 eyeshadow palette from Martine Cosmetics, which is a French brand, and this brand I had not heard from in quite some time, and it was a brand that I kind of had on my radar back in the day, but I'm pretty sure their palettes are not magnetic. And on a second look, this one is plastic packaging, which is not my thing. This, you know what this reminds me of? Underland palette, which I have duped from Ensley Reign. That's, I think, why I like it. And I think I just answered myself. I not only can dupe this palette, I have duped a dupe of this palette. So it ain't happening. And I remember Martine Cosmetics not being the cheapest. So now that every price of everything has gone up, I highly doubt that it's very budget friendly for me. So moving on, and that might be everything. Oh, let me also show a reveal of this because I don't think I got a chance to do that. NBA Cosmetics' Autumn Moon. Interestingly, it does remind me of a palette that I used to do this look. They definitely have some shades in common. That is interesting because I'm just swiping through to see if I see more nail polish reveals, and I haven't seen a whole lot. So that is definitely something I'm looking forward to, because the good thing about nail polishes is that you can have a lot, but they also last much longer. Their expiration date is much longer, and you can revive them and so on if they dry up. So I'm definitely looking for nail polishes, maybe more so than I would be looking for new makeup, because I have plenty makeup still and I need to go through them. As promised, I'm going to show both of these looks on the screen for you to be able to see from close up. And with that, beauties, let me know in the comments below what palette or new makeup release you managed to talk yourself out of buying in the comments below. If there is any palette we talked about that you want me to dupe, write it also in the comments below. I love you all. I hope you have an awesome day and awesome week. And until next time, bye.